Good evening. Dr. John Taylor Kent here. I'm finally getting back to doing a video for my main channel, Dr. John Taylor Kent. Spent 2 full days waiting for my video about the end of the Earth Age, 44 minutes to upload on my other channel, Awakening Israel. I highly recommend that you watch that video. I think you'll learn quite a bit. What's been on my mind to bring on this channel at this point is to cover a social aspect, which I think needs to be covered. I don't think anybody's talking about this. We men do not have rights. The women get to dominate in family court, and that's done wrongfully. Very much against the science. The number one thing I hear women scream is, "It's my body." Well, that's not entirely accurate. It's not all your body. If you look at it, the male whom you've engaged has contributed. It may be only one cell, but that's what you contributed as well, just one cell. And when you really get down to it, it's yours and his. But the ultimate fact is, it's that child's body. And in case you're wondering, the moment of conception is the moment when that soul enters that body, and that's accompanied with a bright spark of light. And the brighter the spark of light, the more magnanimous that soul is going to be, the more important that soul is going to be on this earth, this lifetime. So, what we do not have anywhere is a requirement that the man be consulted. And we men don't have much of a choice. We don't get to reproduce unless we use your bodies. So in that, it is your body, all right. However, I want to remind you that only 40% of men reproduce, whereas 80% of females reproduce. So that's generally speaking, females reproduce at a rate of 2 to 1. What that means socially is that the women are sharing the same men. The same men get to be fathers. That's just the fact. That's just the way it is. What a state should require is that the woman identify the father of the child and seek the written consent, certified written consent of the father if she wants an abortion. Alternatively, the father should be offered the opportunity to have the child if she doesn't want the child. So she would have it to full term. The father would take possession of the child. And that would be a rightful action. But we're not allowed to have that. And you tell me it's a man's world and it's a patriarchy. I don't think so. I think it's pretty upside down at this point. So it would require a woman to identify the father. It would require her to get the consent of the father of the child so that he might have the option to take the child and raise the child himself. I don't think that's too much to ask for. I think we men need our rights for a change. We haven't had our rights for more than 50 years because of these errant laws. I'd love to see a state courageous enough to do the right thing and assert for legislation that requires any woman seeking an abortion to prove that the man has had the opportunity to claim the baby and to keep the baby's life, preserve the child's life if he wants to raise his child. His child. Yes, it's their child, but if she doesn't want it, then she doesn't deserve to be a mother. If she wants to murder her own child. And if a woman wanted to have my child aborted, I want to charge her with murder. be quite candid with you. I realize that's a strident position, but I'm just telling you my position. That's all it is. So, let's talk about another aspect, and that is there's a couple more things we need to talk about. One is criminality, the other one is parental alienation. Women use children as weapons against the men that they decide they're going to loathe or hate or take advantage of or put the screws to, and it's not a fair deal. I really think that parental alienation, which generally is accomplished by the mothers brainwashing the children against the fathers, I believe it should be a felony, a crime, a felony with a required 1 year in jail, if not the penitentiary, and it should be a felony. That would put an end to a lot of the shenanigans that are going on and the abuse of the men and the abuse and exploitation of their children. Here's the other thing. For some reason, our courts seem to think that the women have to have the children. Why is that? And I'm going to tell you that's backwards. That's not supported by the science at all. From the science, we know that fatherless parenting leads to criminality. The study was published in 2001, and it should have been entitled On Parental Custody. Instead, it was entitled On Parental Licensure, further empowering the state, like a good libtard, like the author of that award-winning American psychologist study was. He had to paint it with that liberal aspect of empowering the state. However, it was an award-winning study, and what it showed is that they controlled for all variables. They controlled for socioeconomic status. They looked at everything. The money of the parents, their ability to support the child. They looked at religious differences. They looked at racial differences. They looked at all the differences they could. And there was only one variable that held constant, and that was fatherless parenting. So we only have the studies and the statistics for male children. We don't have the studies for female children. We don't have the studies for daughters. And I assure you, if we did, you women would change your minds. You'd change your tunes. Because if the studies were in on the effect of fatherless parenting on daughters, you women would panic and tell the fathers, you'll take your daughters. You'll take our daughters too. Because you want them to avoid prison as well. The fastest growing population in the penitentiary are women. So, what we know is that if you have biological family intact, as they like to say, what that amounts to is mother and father together rearing the children. Lifetime criminal justice system incidence for boys, for male children, is 6%. 6% of male children reared by parents together have what is called a lifetime criminal justice incident. They have trouble with the law. In contrast, boys raised in single-parent household, head of household female, 70% of those boys are going to become criminals. So, mothers, you think you're doing such a good job? You aren't. And you can't. You weren't designed to do it. You certainly weren't meant to do it all on your own. And you can't do it because of the psychological dynamics. I'd like to get into that, but I don't work in psychology much, and it's been a while since I've worked on my theories regarding that. Now, head of household, single head of household, male child, reared by one parent alone, Head of household male by father alone. Guess what the criminal justice system incidence is? Remember, intact family, mother and father together, 6%. Head of parent household, female, 70%. So what's your guess? Head of household, female. I already told you that one. Head of household, male. It's the same as if the family was together. It's merely 6%. So based upon the practice alone of awarding male children to mothers to be reared by mother alone, we have to build more prisons. Why don't we save us all the headaches and all the trouble and give fathers custody? That's what should be done automatically, because the same results as if the family was together, 6%. Now, girls, what ends up happening when they're reared by their mothers alone, we have a significant increase in 3 things. And I'm not even talking about crime. Not even talking about problems with the criminal justice system, because most women can escape that. We give them an excuse because they're girls. The number one thing that occurs is that quite a few of them will turn to prostitution. Probably most of those turn to drugs first and then to prostitution. And the third thing is that the rate of lesbianism is significantly higher. We don't have studies on this. However, I've watched one woman in particular. She raised 2 daughters without their father, and she produced a pair of women just like that. Drug addict, prostitute, lesbians. One of those 2 daughters herself had children. She had 2 daughters again. But she couldn't keep them. The state took the daughters from them and awarded them to their grandmother. So the same woman, the same original mother, rears 2 more girls. How do they turn out? Same way. And of course, one of those 2 granddaughters gets married and has 2 beautiful daughters. And now she fights with the biological father because she has to have custody. She hates men so much. And the biological father, there's nothing wrong with him. There's no reason why he shouldn't have his daughters. There's every reason in the world why he should. So here, this great-grandmother is raising her another set of girls that are going to become problems again because she does the same thing. That's just one example. It certainly isn't all that way, but I want you to think about that. I really think that we would benefit if, by default, instead of awarding sole custody to mothers, we award sole custody to fathers. Now, of course, I know there are men out there who are deadbeats, who are not going to be good fathers, but I think that's the vast minority. And in those cases, I understand the courts awarding custody to the mothers. I'm not against it. It's really in the child's best interest. But to have a family court that's totally biased against the man, against males, well, look today. Men aren't getting married anymore. They aren't even dating anymore. They don't want the trouble that comes with the relationships. And women are screaming, where have all the good men gone? Well, you take us to court, and you take half of our stuff, or more, and you're the ones that, generally speaking, lack fidelity. You're the ones who are unfaithful. But because we have no-fault divorce, all you have to say is, I'm not happy. And then on top of that, it doesn't matter whether you've done you've breached the contract or not, the judge is going to reward you with prizes and goodies for breaching the contract. That's not fair. To any man today who's considering marriage, I advise you, get a written contract. And if you want to keep your children, even put that in the written contract that in the event of a divorce, you keep the children. And you can even say that she doesn't have to pay child support or alimony. You can set her free to go off on her own and bear the full expense of rearing your own children and not be interfered with, and make sure that your daughters and your sons turn out well. So I'm advocating for men's rights. I'm advocating for the best interest of the children, which is to be reared by fathers. Fathers raise good citizens. Good citizens don't go to prison. We won't need as many penitentiaries. We won't need as many courthouses. We won't have as much crime to process. We won't need as many process servers, probation officers, officers in general. We won't need as many. We can all save money. We can save lives. The boys will turn out much better. We all benefit from that. So I ask females who watch this to open your minds and to be generous and to think about what's in the best interest of the children. Sign that prenuptial that agrees in the event of infidelity, you get nothing. That's the way it should be. Let these fathers have access to their children unimpeded. Do not alienate children from their fathers. Well, that's really all I've got to say this evening. It takes a long time to upload these, and I know that this is totally against the destructive narratives of the overlords. They want to see families destroyed. They want to see children destroyed. They want to see lives ruined. They want to see people institutionalized for the rest of their lives in our penitentiaries. It's big business. There's a lot of money in that. I think the term in the Bible is they merchandise, they sell men's souls and women's souls. Think about it. Check out my other channel, Awakening Israel. Please like this video, subscribe if you want. I won't be able to keep up with putting up a video every day or maybe even every other day because my bandwidth is slow. All my electricity is generated by my generator. So running out of battery power, poor bandwidth. I'm lucky to be able to do a video every other day on only one channel at a time. I'm able to get shorts up there, and I'm going to start doing shorter ones. So, may Yahweh bless. Dr. Kent out.